Wait, what do you mean rules are meant to be broken? Isn't success all about following them? You know, the roadmap, the checklist, the rules everyone talks about?
Not quite, but it's cute you still think that. Rules are like fences. They keep the obedient in line, but the bold, they don't stop there. And guess what? That's where the real power lies.
So you're starting to see it now. Rules, regulations, policies, they're great for people who want to play it safe. But let me ask you this. Since when has playing it safe ever built empires? Do you think Steve Jobs sat there checking all the boxes? Did Tesla, or the man himself, fit neatly into any rule book? No, they didn't. Because those rules, they weren't written for people like them or for people like you. Let's get one thing straight. The world has always been run by those who know when and how to break the rules. And no, I'm not telling you to go out there and start causing chaos, at least not that kind of chaos. I'm talking about breaking the rules that hold you back. You know the ones. The invisible script society hands you. Work hard, wait your turn, don't step on any toes. Spoiler alert, the people who preach that stuff, they're the ones who want to keep you beneath them.
Okay, but isn't there a risk? I mean, if you break the rules, don't you also break trust, reputation? Isn't that a gamble?
Oh, it's a gamble, all right. But you know what's worse? Sitting in the stands, clapping politely while someone else plays the game you should have owned. Look around. The people at the top didn't just break the rules, they rewrote them. They weren't afraid of being the villain in someone else's story. Because here's the thing. People who cling to rules will always paint rebels as villains. It's easier to hate what they fear than admit they're too scared to take the leap themselves.
But where do you even start? How do you know which rules to break? It's not like there's a manual for this, unless you're about to hand me one.
See, that's the thing. The manual doesn't exist because it's different for everyone. It's not about breaking every rule for the sake of rebellion. It's about knowing which rules keep you in chains. And trust me, once you spot them, it's game over for everyone trying to hold you back.
Exactly. Here's the secret. The rules you break need to be deliberate. You don't just wake up one day and decide to ignore every sign that says stop. No, you study the map first. You figure out which rules are worth breaking, which boundaries are worth pushing, and which truths are worth dismantling. Take the 9-to-5 grind, for instance. Oh, that's a big one. How many people do you know who drag themselves out of bed, fight through traffic, and pour their souls into someone else's dream? All because society says, that's the way it's done. But let me ask you, who made that rule? And more importantly, who benefits from it? Not you. That's for damn sure. And then there's the whole stay in your lane thing. They love to feed you that one, don't they? Don't aim too high. Don't try to do too much. Just focus on what you're good at. You know what that really means? It means, don't make us uncomfortable. Don't make us compete with you. Stay small, stay predictable. But here's the truth. The people telling you to stay in your lane, they're terrified you'll merge into theirs and leave them in the dust.
But isn't that selfish? I mean, what about collaboration? What about playing fair?
Oh, collaboration is great when it's mutual. But most of the time, it's just another trap. They'll smile, pat you on the back and say, we're in this together. But watch closely. The minute you start outshining them, they'll either sabotage you or throw you under the bus. Fair play? That's for chessboards, not the battlefield of success. And make no mistake, this is a battlefield. Every rule you break is a challenge to the status quo, and the status quo will fight back. People will call you arrogant, reckless, maybe even dangerous. Let them. Because here's the kicker. Every time they point fingers at you, they're just projecting their own fears. Fear of failure, fear of being left behind, fear of having to admit that the rules they've clung to their whole lives were just chains in disguise. Let me tell you a story. There was this guy, let's call him Alex. Fresh out of college, Alex landed a dream job, high pay, fancy office, the works. On paper, it was perfect. But within 6 months, he was miserable. His creativity was crushed under endless meetings and corporate bureaucracy. One day his boss told him, Alex, you need to stop thinking outside the box. Stick to the formula. That's how we've always done it. You see the irony, right? They hired him because he thought outside the box, and now they wanted to shove him back in. So Alex did the unthinkable. He quit. No backup plan, no safety net, just the conviction that he couldn't keep living by someone else's rules. Everyone called him crazy. His parents begged him to reconsider. His friends distanced themselves, probably afraid his failure would rub off on them. But Alex, he didn't care. Fast forward a year, and Alex was running his own business. The same out-of-the-box thinking his boss hated. It became his superpower. He broke every rule his industry swore by. No set hours, no strict hierarchy, no conventional marketing. And guess what? It worked. Today, he's not just successful, he's untouchable. The lesson here, breaking the rules isn't about recklessness. It's about recognizing when the rules are holding you back and having the guts to rewrite them.
Okay, but what about the people who aren't ready to take that leap? Not everyone can just quit their job or go rogue.
And they shouldn't, yet. Rule breaking is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. You start small. Challenge the rules in your everyday life. Question them. Test their limits. For instance, who says you need to respond to emails the second they hit your inbox? Try waiting an hour or a day. Watch how people scramble when they realize they're not controlling your time anymore. Or take the rule that says you have to attend every meeting you're invited to. Skip one, see what happens. Spoiler, probably nothing. The point is, you don't have to nuke your entire life to start breaking the rules. But you do need to get comfortable with discomfort, because every time you push back, you'll face resistance. People will criticize you, doubt you, maybe even try to pull you back in line. That's their fear talking. Fear of change. Fear of losing control. And let me tell you, the moment you start breaking their precious rules, that's the moment they realize they're powerless to stop you. That's when you go from being a player in their game to rewriting the whole damn playbook.
But what if you fail? I mean, not every risk pays off, right?
Ah, failure. The big bad wolf everyone's so afraid of. Let me ask you this. What's worse? Failing at something you believe in, or succeeding at something that makes you miserable? Failure isn't the enemy. Complacency is. And here's the kicker. When you fail, and you will, at least once, it's not the end. It's just feedback. It's the universe saying, not this way. Try again. Every failure teaches you something. Every stumble sharpens your instincts. The real failure? That's sitting on the sidelines, following the rules, and never taking a shot. So yeah, you might fail, but you might also succeed beyond your wildest dreams. And wouldn't that be worth it? All right, let's talk about those legendary rule breakers. The ones who didn't just bend the rules, but shattered them into a million pieces. Let's start with someone everyone knows, Steve Jobs. Now, the tech world had this unspoken rule back in the day. You build products based on what people say they want. Safe, right? Focus groups, surveys, all that jazz. But Jobs? He tore that rule apart. He said, people don't know what they want until you show it to them. Bold, arrogant even. But he was right. The iPhone wasn't a response to consumer demand. It created demand. He didn't follow the rule book. He wrote his own. And today, we're all carrying tiny supercomputers in our pockets because one guy dared to think different.
Okay, but not everyone's Steve Jobs. What about the rest of us who don't have $1 billion vision?
Fair point. Let me bring it down to street level. There's this local cafe I used to go to. Small, nothing fancy. But then out of nowhere, they started running these pay-what-you-want days. Crazy, right? No fixed prices, just trust. Everyone thought they'd go bankrupt. But here's the twist. They didn't. People actually paid more than the regular prices. Why? Because they felt respected, empowered. That little cafe broke the rules of pricing, and in doing so, they created something bigger than coffee. They built loyalty, community. You don't need $1 billion idea to break the rules. Sometimes it's as simple as flipping the script on something everyone takes for granted. That's the secret sauce.
But what about the backlash? Like, what if breaking the rules gets you into trouble?
Oh, there will be backlash. Trust me on that. The minute you start coloring outside the lines, people will come at you. They'll call you reckless, irresponsible, maybe even selfish. And that's when you know you're onto something. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how comfortable people are when you're just like them? But the moment you step out of the herd, they start panicking. It's not because you're wrong. It's because you're proving there's another way. And yeah, sometimes the backlash stings. You might lose friends, piss off your boss, maybe even scare yourself a little. But here's the thing. No one ever changed the world by playing it safe. If you want to do something extraordinary, you've got to get comfortable with people hating you for it. So, here's the truth about breaking rules. It's not for the faint of heart. It's messy. It's lonely at times. You'll get judged, ridiculed, and even outright attacked. But do you know what's worse than all of that? Living your life stuck inside a cage made of other people's expectations. Think about it. Every single rule that exists was created by someone no smarter than you. Rules aren't gospel. They're guidelines, fences to keep the masses in check. But you're not the masses. You're not here to follow. You're here to lead. Look back at all the trailblazers. Rosa Parks didn't wait for someone to tell her it was okay to sit at the front of the bus. Elon Musk didn't ask for permission to reinvent entire industries. And you don't need permission either. When you step up and break the rules, you're not just challenging the system. You're proving to yourself that you have the guts to claim what's yours. And yes, you might fail. You might fall flat on your face. But every failure puts you one step closer to rewriting the script. Because the truth is, rules are meant to be broken. Not out of rebellion, but out of necessity. They keep you small, compliant, predictable. But breaking them, that's where the magic happens. That's where you find out what you're really made of. So go ahead, break the rules, rip up the playbook, rewrite the narrative. Because your success, it won't come from following the crowd. It'll come from leading it. Now tell me, are you ready to break the rules and build the life they said you couldn't have? Or are you going to let fear keep you playing by their game? The choice is yours. But remember, time waits for no one.